our communities need water. We drink water, we play in water. It makes sense that a lot of our communities are right in floodplains and confluence areas, and Jeffersonville is, a classic example of that, where the Brewster River comes down and meets the Lamoille.
We get hit by floods a lot. I've recorded 17 of them in 34 years. 2011 was the real turning point. We experienced 4 floods in less than 11 months.
There's times when the Lamoille level is so high that the water coming down the Brewster, it has nowhere to go. And since it couldn't get under the bridges and out into the Lamoille, it was finding its own path to get there. A lot of that water was traveling down what the community we've been calling the flood chute.
Almost all buildings in the lower village here are on the National Register of Historic Places. The whole village is. So it is a unique site even in historic Vermont. The way to deal with putting something in what was known as a floodplain is just building up high enough so as not to be too terribly impacted, without much thought about, well, what is that doing to everything else? They just built this big levee, basically, that Route 15 went along, and then the floodplain got filled in on the other side, piece by piece by piece, all the way along. We saw it happening little by little, and okay. Then realized, wait a minute, finally it gets to that critical mass that, we have a problem here.
For years and years, we experienced inundation flooding. The water would come up, it'd go back down. April 27th was a different flood. That was when the flood chute occurred and there was a velocity to it. And to me, that was a game changer. I became a member of the Hazard Advisory Committee. To get our plan adopted, it was critical to work very closely with our Regional Planning Commission. They have the expertise, the experience.
It was really clear that the flooding had had a pretty big impact on the community psyche, and there were a lot of competing ideas about what to do about it, and in some ways it was divisive. And so in my experience as a professional community planner, the best thing to do when there's a divisive issue over something like that is to get people together in the room who have different ideas and start just talking about it. The community's municipal plan was nearing a point of needing to be updated, and there was also, because of all of the flooding, planning money available from FEMA to do hazard mitigation planning.
Here in Jeffersonville, we were able to come in and really listen to the community, hear what they have to say. They're the experts and they live here, so they know and they've seen firsthand what the rivers do, and get to think through what they're saying and apply river science to that, and put numbers and modeling to their ideas and their concerns, and then bring it back to them and have a conversation about what can be done. We put a lot of these ideas into a visual master plan where you can actually see on the map visually where the projects are, what they might look like, and how they're connected. They've obtained funding for the railroad bridge project over the Brewster River.
One of the members of the select board decided at a time when there was a major rainstorm to go and watch what happened to the bridge. And the next day, we basically got a call saying, you need to do something about this. The bridge project has involved widening out the floodplain to what it would have been naturally before we squeezed down the river to build a railroad. And by doing that, you give the river more room to, move back and forth.
So our floodplain regulations prohibited development on the former Bell Gates lumber property. But prior to those going into effect, the Union Bank had bought the easternmost half of that, and they were planning to put a new bank building right directly in the flood chute. We thought if there were some possibility for them to give up the part of their property that was in the floodway in exchange for the land to build that bank on, the land swap was the basis of a settlement. We have this area where the Union Bank now has this lovely new branch. They gave up forever the development rights across the street there, and they should be overjoyed that they're not going to be totally flooded out as they would have been if they'd built in the original spot.
That parcel was purchased with the intent of flood mitigation, of ensuring that development wouldn't happen and where the flood chute would be. Purely through a local initiative, the community received a grant to do the silo painting, and it's become really a symbol of the community.
Personally, it's delightful for me. I had so many years of being surrounded by 3 and 4 feet of floodwater, and now I'm surrounded by beautiful artwork and a community center and trails. This community does not have to live in fear of being devastated by these events. They're going to occur. They're going to occur more probably. But hopefully, as a result of the things we're trying to do, we will be able to withstand them. Resiliency. And from there, without living in fear of natural disasters and an inability to survive them, a historic, charming Vermont village can blossom in whatever way the community wishes it to.